Olwaleero Yoweri Kaguta Museveni Generali asisinkanye abakulembeze okuva mu mawanga Africa mu lukuŋŋaana olubadde wali Entebbe olumanyiddwa nga G20 Africa Coffee Summit. Olukuŋŋaana luno lubadde lwa byamwanyi era nga boogera ku ngeri gye bagenda okutumbulamu omutindo gw'emmwanyi mu Africa era okwongera okulaba nga amawanga ga Africa gongera okufuna omusimbi omungi okuva mu mmwanyi ze galima. Ng'ayagala emmwanyi ezirimibwa mu Africa, Uganda n'amawanga amalala teziddamu kutwalibwa mu mawanga g'abazungu nga tezongeddwako mutindo era ng'ayagala Africa efune ssente ezisingira ddala okuva mu mmwanyi zaayo. Bakolemu kaawa batwale bweru emitala amayanja batundeyo kaawa bafune omudidi gwonna okusinga okutwala emmwanyi ensiike oba emmwanyi embisi oba emmwanyi ensekule bo ne bafunamu akasente katono ate abazungu abatazirima ne bafunamu omusimbi omungi ne bagaggawala nga te Africa yongera kuba kwavuwala. Agamba America, Europe, Asia balina okufiirwa ku luno bajja kajjuutuka bajja kiwuliramu kubanga tebagenda kuddamu kubaguza mmwanyi za Uganda, mmwanyi za Africa okuggyako nga bagula kaawa lwe bagenda okukwatagana nabo basobole okutunda emmwanyi zino. Ng'ayagala amawanga gano gafune ebyuma eby'amaanyi era ebyuma ebyongera omutindo ku mmwanyi zino bakolemu kaawa bapaakinge kaawa oyo nga gwe batwala mu mawanga g'abazungu. Era kino akigambye abakulembeze wa Africa mu lukuŋŋaana olumanyiddwa nga G20 Africa Coffee Summit olutudde Entebbe. Kati nze naawe ekibuuzo we kiri. Bino Mwai Museveni byaloota kuba buli muntu aba n'ekirooto era kimala ne kituukirira. Byaloota oba byateesa atuukirira oba tebituukirire. Obiraba bino mulamu oba temuli. Obiraba kinaasoboka oba tekiisoboke. Kale nsaba onneegatteko mu buwombeefu obw'ekika ekya waggulu tugende wali Entebbe tulabe okwogera kwa Mwami Museveni Generali ng'ayogera mu lukuŋŋaana lwa G20 Africa Coffee Summit. Owulire ebigambo bye, owulire enteesa ye ne ku nsonga endala nnyingi ezigenda maaso mu Africa ate naffe tulabe oba kyateesa kyaleese kinaakola oba tekiikole. Aya tutandise.
Robusta coffee, what we call Nemwanyi, is indigenous to Uganda. And in the past, we used to use it to perform ceremonial functions, religious functions of brotherhood and so on. Coffee is not a food, but a beverage. Although I hear it has also got some carbohydrates and some proteins, so there's some element of feeding in it. But nevertheless, that beverage is quite useful as a stimulant that is friendly to the human body. Especially people in the cold countries need this stimulant. I was trying to find out from the doctors, what does coffee add to the human body? And they told me that because it stimulates the body mechanisms, it therefore improves appetite. That's what I was told. I don't know whether it is true or not, but one of the people told me this. So it is some sort of appetizer, apart from stimulating the body, the heart, the blood circulation, and so on. To the richer people, apparently, in the world, that can afford to buy coffee. We here in Uganda didn't know that coffee was a rich man's beverage. Because we have it here, we take it for granted. But when I went to other countries, they said, no, for us, we can't afford coffee. we drink tea. Apparently, people with less incomes tend to drink tea, another beverage which we produce a lot here in Uganda. Some years ago, the global demand of coffee was 118 million bags, 60 kilograms. 118 million bags of 60 kilograms each. I hear that the global demand has now gone to 160 million or more, 60 kilogram bags. Why? Apparently, as already pointed out above, affluence converts some of the tea drinkers into coffee drinkers. Therefore, I hear that Chinese who used to drink tea, because they have more money now, they drink coffee. That's why the demand is going up. And that's why I have been encouraging Ugandans to grow coffee. Otherwise, if it had no global demand, I wouldn't encourage them. I would discourage them. This trend will therefore be good for the coffee producing countries like Uganda. The fact that the demand for coffee is growing should be good for us, we here, and those who are not here, the Brazil, Colombia, all those other people, Vietnam, Indonesia, etc. However, out of the US dollars, 460 billion dollars global coffee value. The coffee producing countries of the whole world, we here and those who are not here, only take US dollars 25 billion. That's where there is a problem. The coffee value in the world, 460 billion. But all the coffee growing countries of the world, they share only $25 billion.
Did you ever wonder if your birthday holds?
Tukyali wano n'omukulu Yoweri Kaguta Museveni ayogera ku nsonga za kofi asisinkanye abakulembeze mu mawanga ga Africa.
And Africa, we who are here, we get only US dollars 2.4 billion. $2.4 billion out of a business of $460 billion. Uganda takes $845 million of this. Of the 2.4 billion, Uganda takes more than 1/3 because of the volumes we produce here. Now, this is part of the iniquities of the present global parasitic system. The present global system is parasitic. A parasite is the one who takes from you and doesn't give back to you. We call that a parasite. So this system is parasitic. In the last 60 years, I have been involved in the struggle against this modern slavery for Africa. The curse of producing raw materials for cleverer people in the world to add value to those raw materials and get much more value from them. For the last 60 years and more, I have been involved in struggle against all this. A kilogram of bean coffee of good quality may go for US dollars 2.5 billion to $2.5 a kilo of good quality. They call it something, some Q something, they give them some names. You may get $2.5. The same quantity of coffee, roasted, ground, and packaged outside may go for US dollars 40. For what Africa gets $2.5, somebody else gets $40. This is where there is massive hemorrhage of money from the global south to the global north. It is not only the loss of money per kilo, it is also the loss of jobs, because these are jobs. The one who roasts is a job. The one who grinds is a job. The one who packages is a job. All those jobs are exported. If you take the whole, now this is in one area of coffee. But if you take the whole spectrum of raw materials from agriculture, from minerals, from forest products, etc., the loss to Africa is massive. Right from the student days in our movement in the 1960s, we put forward the strategy of building Uganda's economy as an independent, self-sustaining one, with both vertical and horizontal integration. That's what we identified in the 1960s when we were part of the student movement. Here in Uganda, we have succeeded somehow in some sectors, such as the dairy sector, the milk sector. Uganda now is a big exporter of milk products. Fisheries, textiles, sugar, leather, etc., a number of sectors where we have been able to achieve this. Vertical integration and horizontal integration.
You want such a cool body?
And that's how, like, as we speak today, inflation in Uganda had gone to 10 point something percent during Corona. Our inflation rate had gone to 10 point something. And these Ugandans were panicking that they don't have bread from Ukraine and Russia. I said, why do you eat bread? Eat cassava, forget about bread. Now inflation is 3.9%. It has come down. I don't know in other countries, but here the inflation has come down partly because of this, where we have achieved some degree of vertical and horizontal integration. If, for instance, you say that you have got a tourism industry, but all the food the tourists eat is imported, there is no linkage. There is no horizontal linkage between the tourism and your agriculture. This is where there would be a problem. But in Uganda, we produce a lot of food, and that's how I think somehow there's a link between the tourism sector and agriculture. However, in many sectors, including the coffee sector, we are still losing a lot of money and jobs on account of this distortion. That is why I banned completely some years ago the export of unprocessed minerals. I banned them. I'm not popular in some areas. I'm not popular in some areas, but God is my savior. I'm not bothered. There was one Indian group which came and linked with my people here. They had made a deal to export iron ore iron ore from the ground. Iron ore from the ground is soil. So these people had agreed to export to India iron ore. How much will you get, sirs and madams? we shall get $47 per ton of iron ore. When the Indian takes the iron ore and processes it into steel in India, how much does he get? He gets like now, I think now it's like $700. Now. At one time it had gone to 900, then it came to 500, 600. So you have got these wonderful Ugandans exporting our iron ore for $47 a ton, and then somebody is going to get 600, 700 from the same iron ore. There is some little variation in the calculation, because when you process 1 ton of iron ore, our iron ore is very high grade. It's the best in the world. So if you process 1,000 kilos of iron ore, you get 700 kilos. So in order to get 1 ton, you need to add more, some little. We call it chibaro in our language here. Calculation. But the loss of value is huge. And remember, you are not only losing money, you are losing jobs.
Ever wonder why so many people say they want to learn guitar, but very few act?
The people who will be managing the steel factories in India will not be my grandchildren. It will be the Indian children. So how can we have something like this in Africa and we tolerate it? So that's why I banned completely some years ago the export of unprocessed minerals such as iron ore, blister copper. Blister copper is 94% pure. Uganda in the past used to export this type of copper. 94% copper, 94% pure copper is they call it blister copper. But here we had a situation where we were exporting this blister copper up to Mombasa, and yet we had some factories here making cables for electricity, and some factories which wanted to make transformers for electricity. But they couldn't use this blister copper because it is not pure enough. So the blister copper had to be exported out, and then our wonderful planners were now to wait for imported cathode copper. The cathode copper is the one which is 99 point something pure. This is the one you can use now directly in the cables and in the transformers. So here we had copper, but our copper had no linkage with our cables industry, had no linkage with our transformer industries. You wonder, how can Africans be like, accept this? So I stopped all this. I said, if you are not ready to process, let it stay in the ground. It has been there for 2 million years. It can stay there for another 100 years until you are ready to process it yourselves. Wolfram, tin ore, lithium. There is now a new war for lithium. Your brothers and sisters here in Uganda have woken up. They are now making, manufacturing electric vehicles, buses, small cars. They are making them because they are highly educated. If you ask these people, they are very highly educated. PhD, I don't know what. So they have woken up now. They are using their education to produce. But now the issue you have is the one of electric batteries. And I hear lithium is one of the inputs to make electric batteries. So we have got lithium here. I said, no lithium will be exported. You make the electric batteries here, if you are my friend, and export those. Why do you want to export low value and you get more value? Uranium, ETC. We've got a lot of uranium here. You have heard of the quarrels going on in Niger. There is a crisis now in an African country known as Niger. I think some of our friends from West Africa know it better, Togo and Cameroon, they know it better. You have heard of the quarrels going on in Niger, in West Africa, about uranium being taken to Europe. That's how I came to know recently. When this crisis started, we started getting information that apparently Niger is exporting a lot of uranium to Europe and to France for them to use in their nuclear power stations to generate electricity for themselves. So this morning I took interest. I said, by the way, what is the electricity supply in Niger? Before you sell uranium to the other person, how about you? What's happening to you? Now I found, I was told, there is a measurement they call kilowatt hour per capita. Kilowatt hour per capita. Apparently, the kilowatt hour per capita of electricity in Niger is 51. 51. Every person in Niger is using 51 kilowatt hour per capita. The GDP of Niger is US dollars 613. Now, here in Uganda, our kilowatt hour per capita was very low, was like this some years ago, was as low as this one of Niger. But now it's about 300. Still very low. But that's where it is. Then how about the United States? What is the kilowatt hour per capita of the United States? 12,000. 12,000. And there is a country called Iceland. It has got a lot of electricity. Of course, they have got a small population, but it is 54,000. Now, Uganda has got a lot of uranium. Some years ago, a Western company came and proposed to mine the uranium. They came here, said they want to mine the uranium. I asked them, mine it and take it where? They said, export it. That was their answer. I asked them, export it for what purposes? They told me, for the purposes of generating nuclear energy, for electricity, and other uses such as medicine, vector control, etc. I then asked them, have you had a rumor that there are some human beings here in Uganda who need electricity, who need nuclear medicine, and who need vector control services? I asked them, you want to take the uranium, but have you had a rumor that there are some human beings here?
iPhone or I.
It's not confirmed that they are there, but could it be a rumor that there are some human beings here? Why don't you propose to build that capacity here for the benefit of these human beings who live in Uganda? And maybe we can put aside some quantity of uranium for supporting the economies of our friends in the West. After that, after you have addressed my issue, I can also share with you so that you also go and solve your words. But to tell me that you solve my problems and forget yours, I cannot accept that. They never came back. They never came back. So the uranium of Uganda is sleeping in the ground until we are ready to use it. have now agreed with the Russians and the Koreans to build 2 nuclear power stations for electricity of 15,600 megawatts total. Imagine, just 2 stations will produce 15,000 megawatts. One 7,200 megawatts, the other one 8,500 megawatts. Our biggest dam on the Nile is the Karuma with 640 megawatts. The hydro. The biggest opposition of our plan of building an integrated national economy has been mainly internal, from some elements of the political and bureaucratic classes who perform the role of comprador bourgeoisie, agents of foreign interests Mao Zedong talked about in China. Unlike the national bourgeoisie, who build our economy, the comprador bourgeoisie, raw material exporters, importers of foreign products that can be made here, commission agents, bleed our economy. The national bourgeoisie, who are manufacturers, hotel owners, tourism operators, professional service providers, such as doctors who treat people here instead of patients going out for treatment, internal distributors of our products, such as food, build our economy. There are businesses which build our economy, which infuse blood into our economy. There are those businesses which drain blood from our system for the benefit of the outsiders. And these are the ones Mao Zedong called the comprador. Comprador is a French word meaning agent, agent of. Therefore, we, the raw materials producers, need to conduct internal struggles in our respective countries to add value to these raw materials, including coffee, so that we earn more from our sweat and create more jobs for our youth instead of dying in the Mediterranean going to Europe.
We've got first contact.
We also need to sensitize our partners in the countries that have been buying our raw materials at same slave prices, that their economics is defective. What will the USA or Europe or Asia lose if Africa sells added value coffee to them instead of the raw materials of the raw material form and earn more money? What if the value addition is done to other raw materials like copper, gold, iron ore, lithium, etc.? Money to Africa would mean higher purchasing power for Africa. The Africans who now lack electricity will be able to afford to pay for electricity. Where will the turbines come from, the ones for generating the electricity? Will they not come from Europe, USA, Russia, China, or from other partners? So what we are proposing by adding value to our raw materials will mean putting more purchasing power in the hands of the Africans. But there is a page, I jumped into my speech. Allow me not to leave it out. Now, because of this hemorrhage from Africa, because of these raw materials, that's why the economy of Africa is stunted. African economy is stunted. I had jumped this, very sorry, very sorry. That's why the economy of Africa is stunted. Somebody from stunted growth is somebody who can't grow. The GDP of the whole massive African continent, with a population now of about 1.5 billion people, is US dollars 2.7 trillion. What are the GDP sizes of other much smaller individual countries? Here below are some examples. USA, 25.5 trillion. Africa, 2.7 trillion. USA, 25 trillion. China, 17.9 trillion, almost 18 trillion. Japan, $4.2 trillion. Germany, $4 trillion. India, $3.38 trillion. Even little South Korea has a GDP of US dollars 1.7 trillion, nearing the size of the African GDP. It must be pointed out that even this US dollars 2.7 trillion is a recent development, because the African economies are said to be growing at a fast rate compared to others in the world. Otherwise, Africa's GDP was only 500 billion some few years ago. However, much of that growth may be quantitative, not exploitative, producing more and more raw materials. Sorry, I had jumped that page in the speech. Therefore, as I conclude, I was beginning to ask the question, if Africa gets more money from value-added products of its raw materials, will it not be better for the whole world? Because if you hear the per capita consumption of electricity in Uganda is 300. In the USA, it is 12,000.
Woo! Adapted mind math! Come explore the site with me. I'm in first grade.
Why are the Ugandans not using electricity? Because, first of all, in the past it was not there. But even when it's there, they may not be able to afford it. But if they get income, because they are getting more money from their coffee, getting more money from their iron ore, getting more money from their copper, they will be able to buy electricity, and we shall be able to generate more electricity. Where will the turbines for generating that electricity be coming from? Uganda is not making turbines yet. We shall have to buy them from those people. So therefore, that's why I was asking, the question was, how can greed obscure rationality to such an extent? Why can't people see what is good for all of us? In conclusion, I propose to say that global affluence will benefit everybody. Down with imperialism, down with the parasitism, long live the win-win strategy. With these not so few words, I declare the conference open.
Yeah. Byebyo bigambo bya Yoweri Kaguta Museveni ng'agezaako okubuuza abantu ekibuuzo ti America, Europe, Asia mufiirwa ki Africa bwe baguza ebintu byeyongeddeko omutindo. Emmwanyi nga zongeddwako omutindo, copper ayongeddwako omutindo, iron ayongeddwako omutindo, uranium ayongeddwako omutindo, buli Africa kyerina nga kyongeddwako omutindo muleka mukitwala. Mufiirwa ki? Lwaki mwagala okutubba buli olukedde mmwe ne mubeera nga mugaggawala? Lwaki temwagaliza lwe luyombo lwaliko? Agamba abasajja bano tebaagaliza Africa, bo baagala kuginyunyuta bunyunyusi, kugibba bubbi, babeere nga buli kyabugaga kya Africa bakitwalira bwereere, bakitwala butwazi, ne bakikozesa bo ne bagaggala ne bongera okuba abagaggafuge, babijodolo babyomere, ate nga Africa yongera kwavuwala, bongera kuba baavu, balunkupe, balukyolo, abatalina wadde simoni. Kati ayagala mawanga Africa gakwatagane galabe nti gonna gassa kimu, nti tewali kya bugagga kya Africa eky'omu ttaka oba eky'okulukalu ekifuluma Africa nga tekyongezeddwako mutindo. Kino kyalowooza kinaasoboka oba tekisoboke. Kale tubirinde, tujja kulaba ebya Mwami Museveni n'abazungu, eba Africa n'abazungu, tulabe oba banakkiriza okolagana ne Africa nga ebawa ebintu ebyongezeddwako mutindo babigula bei okusinga okutwala ebitalina mutindo nga ebigula rice. Ekimwanyi Museveni kimuluma kimanyi na buli kimuluma okubanga ebintu bya Africa bitwalibwa kumpi bwerere munansi n'abonaabona ate nga ensi zaabwe ngagga fugge naye ate bali batali bannannyini bya bugagga ebyo bo ne bagaggawala nnyo okusinga bannannyini byo. Kati gwe nange tulina okumanya nti Uganda yaffe, Africa yaffe, tulina ogikolerera ku lw'abaana baffe abaliddawo nga tuteekawo omusingi omugumu omunywevu ogw'engabana ebyobugagga bwa Africa. Ne bo abakulembeze Africa bali ready okubanga ensimbi ezinavaamu banaazikolamu ebyo ebiteekeddwa okukola mu mawanga gaabwe bajja kuzizza mu nsawo zaabwe na kugasa famire zaabwe n'okwenywereza mu ntebe. Kale mbaagala nnyo, Mukama Katonda nsaba bankuumire, tujja kuba tuddamu tuwaye mweraba.